Ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to introduce you to one of the most fascinating people you could possibly meet today. Gitanjali is not just Time Magazine's youngest and Forbes 30 Under 30 and Time's top young innovator. She is also a young woman who has created so many impacts across the world, whether it's through her invention, the Epione, which is a device for early diagnosis of prescription opioid addiction using genetic engineering, and also what I find really compelling, particularly in this day that we're talking about AI and kids getting lost into these digital worlds, an app called Kindly, which is an anti-cyberbullying service using AI and natural language processing. Anjali, I'd love to know from you, what made you want to participate in the world of business at such a young age, and what impact were you looking to have?
Yeah, first of all, it is such an honor to be here. My name is Gitanjali. I'm a senior in high school, and so it's always fun for me to come out and do events like this, and thank you, I appreciate it. But I think first and foremost, what it always was for me was this sense of passion to always want to give back to my community. So ever since I was, 5 or 6 years old, I always told people that at the end of the day, my biggest dream and what I want to do in life is to just put a smile on people's faces and to help the world, right? And that slowly turned into my, passion for research, my passion for science and technology, and more importantly, ways in which I can give back to the community, and ways in which I can really help foster and support students and allow them to grow and learn just like I had the opportunity to do at a young age.
Amazing. So we were talking earlier about young people and the opportunities and the struggles that they face. When we talk about STEM and STEM education and education on whole, from your peers, from what you've seen in your global travels, which, by the way, she's traveled more countries in the world than I think any of us have, being this advocate for young people and also for STEM, what do you find is the biggest obstacle across the board from your contemporaries?
Yeah, I think ideally, I'd like to start this off with a story. I had the opportunity to go to Nairobi, Kenya, this past week, actually, specifically in the Kayole district, which is this very small neighborhood in Nairobi, very limited opportunities. It was a place that I had never seen before, and I went there with the intention of running my typical workshops and working with these students. And I think, end of the story, it was ineffective. It didn't work the way that I intended for it to work, like my workshops typically run. And the reasoning behind that is, for a couple of different reasons. But first and foremost, the biggest thing I recognized was the lack of availability of resources. First of all, Wi-Fi and broadband, right? And so along with the International Telecommunication Union, I had the opportunity to speak at their Broadband Commission event during the UN General Assembly this past couple of months. And within that, they were focusing on ways in which we're going to improve broadband service and the availability of devices, which was really my next priority. We really have to walk before we run. These students can't learn about advancements in technology without being provided the basic needs like Wi-Fi and even laptops that they can have within their labs as well. And so, one statistic that always very much stands out to me is that 3.7 billion people across the world don't have access to internet. And out of that, 500 million of them are children who are the people that do need internet to grow and learn. And I think the second biggest priority that we see is the availability of STEM educational resources through the word that we all dreaded, especially in the United States for months, which was remote learning. Yeah. But really utilizing that and the power that an entire pandemic gave us to be able to strive forward and look at ways in which privileged organizations and schools can give back to some of these smaller communities and provide them with the resources that they need to keep growing forward.
So within STEM, what's the gap that you see? You've traveled across Africa, the United States of America, you've been into South America and Asia. You talked about the digital divide and the technology, but with STEM, is it teachers do we need more teachers? Do we need them to speak a different language to speak to the children of today? What's missing?
I think the best way I like to put this out there is technology without application is just a bunch of long words. right? We should be fostering this next generation of students that aren't fearing the technology in front of us, but are willing to use them to grow upwards as a society. So yes, we need more instructional training towards teachers. We need more availability of teachers, but what we need to focus on, more importantly, is how we're working with these teachers to create innovation curriculums and create problem solving and critical thinking as something that is so baseline, just like science, math, or social studies that we might see at school, right? Creating it just not as another subject, but something that's so involved in our daily lives that it's something as basic as a subject that we must learn at school. And that's for everyone, right? These students in developing countries, students that go to my school, and schools in my area as well.
So when you talk about this inclusivity, how do we make sure, and have you seen more young girls come into STEM and STEM studies from the areas that you've seen? Because I can tell you when I was younger, math was a taboo subject for me. I was terrible at it. But the fear factor that was built for me around it was something, even at 47, I can't get over. I don't even want to do 1 + 1. It's better for everyone that I don't. How do you make sure that young women are excited and energized to enter this world? And do you see more of them joining?
Yeah, so this is always a fun story to tell, but when I was 10 or 11 years old, I went to this video game making camp. And I was one of like 4 boys on my team. And we were building this game, and all the characters were guys. And I was like, hey, we should put a girl in it. And I've never seen a group of 4 guys be more appalled, but more willing to do something. And that was like one of those starting factors where I was like, oh, right? People aren't against this. People aren't against women being involved in STEM and diversity in STEM. It just needs to be out there. It needs to be known. And we need to recognize why that female perspective and that diverse perspective is incredibly important in today's society. But to answer your question, I absolutely think we've progressed. Right? We've gotten to places that no one's seen before. We're seeing more and more opportunities within STEM. But I think what's also important to mention that there's actually a research done by the National Science Foundation that recognized that because of the pandemic, there was a significant drop of women in STEM fields. Because of things like the wage gap, because of a lack of opportunity. And that's something that I recognize as, that needs to be fixed, especially because the male population in science fields stabilized. Right. And so that diverse perspective, that new way of thinking needs to be maximized now more than ever, because innovation isn't an option anymore. It's a necessity, and it's something that should become reality, and that means we need everyone's take.
So you're a senior in high school.
I am.
You are about to get all of your responses from the universities and colleges that you've applied to. What is the main thing or the reason that you would pick one over the other? Is it the community? Is it actually the educational curriculum? Or is it the network that you think you're going to get out of it? So I'd love to know, as a young person, why? What are you choosing?
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that a school is what you make out of it. Yeah. Someone really smart, I don't really remember who it was, but someone told me that college isn't a prize to be won, it's a match to be made. And that's something that kind of stuck with me, and I think sticks with any senior when you're waiting for decisions, which actually happen to come out today. But it's something that I've learned across the years is what I'm looking for in a school and in college is an opportunity to network with people, create a community, and on top of all of that, really find people who are just like me, whether that's, in another field, but really having that same passion and that same dedication to giving back to their community. And obviously, research opportunities matter. And obviously, I'm a big, big supporter of any school that's pushing community service out there. But I want to meet other kids who have that passion and really show other students that they're not alone in this journey and that it's important to really put that widespread message of creating a community of youth innovators.
So youth innovators that function kindly seems to be something that you are really deeply passionate about. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about kindly and what this meant to you, and why did you pursue this as an initiative?
That was a great segue.
You're welcome.
But Kindly is an anti-cyberbullying service that had the opportunity to create these past couple of years. The easiest way that I like to put it is it's the spell check of cyberbullying. It's a non-punitive approach towards cyberbullying. It makes you aware of words or phrases that you may be saying in emails or text messages by quite simply underlining it and saying, hey, this isn't something that I would send, doesn't stop you from sending anything, and more importantly, it doesn't report anything or store anything. Kindly started out with actually this research paper that I read that said it only takes 7 seconds for a teenager to want to unsend something that they sent. And really what this is banking on is it's an idea created by a teenager for a teenager, right? A non-punitive approach towards allowing students to reevaluate what they're saying online. Recently, I had the opportunity to work with the UNICEF Office of Innovation to put Kindly out there for people to start using. It is a completely open sourced and crowdsourced tool, so all the input that goes into this AI engine is completely crowdsourced by responding to prompts that is on the Kindly landing page. And it uses the latest in sentiment analysis, and it's completely machine learning based. So it's picking up the newest words, slangs, trends, memes, emojis out there, and it's constantly updating itself. And on top of that, it's out there for people to start using on Discord, Slack, Instagram, G Suite, and a lot of other integrations that we're actively working on right now. But ideally, I'd like to see it as normalized as we'd use spell check, because it's a choice that we're making to make sure that what we're sending doesn't have any grammar errors. I want to make it as normalized that it's a choice that we're making to make sure we're not accidentally insulting online.
So you've done something that I think is actually also quite compelling. You've shared through your book, which is The Young Innovator's Guide to STEM, how you do what you do. And you're essentially giving everybody an open source to say, if you're young and if you're a dreamer, this is how you do it. What is it about the way you were either raised or the environment that you're in that gives you this motivation at your age to keep giving and giving selflessly? And is that something that you're also trying to role model for others? And have you found in your community a role for a mentor to you and yourself as a mentor to others?
Yeah, I created a device a while ago to detect for lead in drinking water, and people were so shocked that I wasn't from Flint, Michigan, because I'd never dealt with an issue like this. I've always had clean water to drink. And so a question like that's always difficult for me to answer. But I think really what it was the mentorship and support across the way. And I was always growing up in this environment, whether that was my parents or my teachers, who taught me that if you don't like the way something is, take that first chance to fix it, right? You can't wait around for someone else to do it. And so that's when I started taking it upon myself to email labs, right? Come up with ideas, go out there, speak about these ideas. And it was so foreign at that time. It was like, oh, there's this 10-year-old with an idea. How serious should we take her, right? And the right answer is probably not that seriously, but more and more it's becoming a normal thing to see younger students in labs and to see their passion really being put out there. But I think really what it is I was exposed to a lot at a very young age. My parents always took travel very seriously. I was that kid that you name it, I did it. I played football for a while, and that obviously didn't stick. But there were so many different things that I did that I was essentially able to carve my own path. And I hope every student gets the opportunity to walk into a lab someday, or every student gets the opportunity to say that they carved their own path, right? The reason I am where I am today, and the reason I'm fortunate enough to have found my passion, is because exposure. Because I was able to look at the world around me, realize problems, realize what I truly wanted to do, and carry that forward with me, and take more time to give back to the community.
That's amazing. So one of the things, ladies and gentlemen, that I think is profoundly compelling, we have a next generation of young people that is not just looking for support, but is also able to give back in a way that will open all of our minds. I think one of the things that we're seeing in this world of priorities is, what are our priorities? And we have a young woman here who really is symbolic and representative of this next generation of doers. But every doer needs to be enabled, and this is the room of enablers. So I would ask you to go out and find young men and women who have this kind of inspiration and ability to do, but they can't do it without us. So let's make that a priority to support this next generation to be the action generation. Thank you.
Thank you.